Hi, it's Sam from Kirklees Visual Impairment Network, and this is part 2 of my lateral flow test video, and this one is all about taking the test. Now, there's a couple of things to bear in mind before you take the test. You mustn't have had anything to eat or drink for the 30 minutes before you take the test. You also need to have sterilised the work surface you're using, which I've already done, and you also need to blow your nose prior to the test as well. And I'm just going to make sure before I start touching all the components again that I am got some more sanitizer on my hands. So we're ready to go with our test now. So the first item you need is your cardboard extraction tube holder, which I'll just remind you is the cardboard item with the little round hole in the corner. So place that down on a level surface. Then you get your extraction tube, which is your kind of test tube style component. Place this upright in the hole and leave it there. Then the next item you need when you're doing a test is the brittle small plastic item that's like the vial of fluid. This is your test fluid. Make sure it's facing upwards, and you've got two little nicks at the top of the plastic. So make sure these are right at the top, because this makes sure it's the right way up. So then all you need to do is pop them to break into the vial and twist the top off. Then, if like me, you do have low vision, if you need to lift the test tube out of the test tube holder for a while just so you can level it up with a vial of fluid, do so. And then if you can just pour the vial of fluid into the test tube, give it a little bit of a squeeze, because when you haven't got much vision, it is difficult to work out if the fluid has actually gone in there. But yeah, if you just make sure they're all level, it will do. Then you bob your test tube back in its holder and leave it to stand there for a moment. The next item that we look at then is your swab, which is the really long, thin item, which again, you've got the top layer of the wrapping and the bottom layer of the wrapping at one end are slightly set apart. So what I'm going to do now is just open these an inch or so, which enables me to grab the end of the swab, the end that I can touch. So I'm just going to do the test right quickly. So I'll take the swab out of its wrapping, move the wrapping to the side. Now what you need to do is put it right to the back of your mouth where your tonsils are, or where they would have been, and then swab 4 times each side, and then do 10 circles in each nostril. So just bear with me a couple of minutes while I just take the test. There we go, test complete. Obviously, when you are visually impaired, it's a little bit of trial and error, getting right to the back of your mouth. Obviously, using a mirror isn't much good when you can't see what's in it, but I think it still doesn't stop us doing a test. It just maybe we have to rely a bit more on feel, and it is a bit more trial and error, but at least, you know, we've got to show willing and do our bit. So anyway, I'm still not touching the end of the swab that I've used to swab myself. So what I'm going to do now, I'm lifting the test tube up, and I'm going to try by touch and get the swabbed end of the swab into the tube, which I have done. Now we have to leave this in the test tube for about 15 seconds, but to make sure it mixes with the fluid that's already in the tube, just give the tube a slight light squeeze, just so the end of the swab is covered effectively in the liquid. Again, to be fair, you don't need to really see what you're doing to do this. You can feel you're tapping the tube lightly. And like I say, 15 seconds, Just let the test solution do what it needs to do. Then you can remove the swab to one side. That can be binned later. And then on the top of your test tube, you have a lid attached, which you can just fold in to the test tube itself. And then make sure you put that back in the extractor tube / test tube stand, again still the correct way up. Right, and finally the item we're now going to look at, which is the largest one in the pack apart from the card one, is the kind of plastic envelope. So if you open this, there's some little nicks near the top, so you'll be able to rip it open. And this is your test strip. And I'll just give you a quick guide to the test strip. There's also some silicone gel to keep it fresh. Again, just bin that. That's not relevant for the test. So the test strip is maybe 2.5 inches by about 3/4 of an inch. It's solid plastic, but on one side there's 3 tactile features to bear in mind. So you've got to start with a very quite rounded indent, and this is where you'd pour your solution when you're ready. Then following that, you've got like a long thin rectangle kind of indent, and that's across the middle of the same side of the test strip, which is kind of your test window. And then a little bit further on, you've got some tactile kind of markings there, and they're not relevant, but after those, that is where you'd find your QR code for then reporting your results later on if you are doing so using a smartphone or a tablet. So just to bear in mind, your QR code is just above that kind of tactile bit of markings there. So anyway, that's the test strip. And then what we're going to do is, this is a little bit more difficult when you have low or no vision. You take your test tube. The lid that's on has a little hole in it. It's got like a little spout in it in the lid of the test tube. Yeah, I suppose depending how much you can see, you might be able to pour this from a distance. Me personally, I prefer to line it up with the rounded indent on the test tube strip. So I'm going to line it up, use my fingers and have a feel and make sure it's lined up with the circular rounded bit. And then I'm tipping the test tube upside down and I'm going to squeeze the contents out into that rounded indent. It does suggest you do a couple of drops, but again, like I say, if you can't see how much you're putting on, just squeeze and hopefully some will land on there, and that is your test done. All you have to do now is leave your test strip on a flat surface for half an hour. When it's done, unfortunately you will need eyes for the next bit. A bit like a pregnancy test, it's got lines that indicate the results. So a line with the letter C, the test is negative. 2 lines with the letters C and T, and that's a positive result. Or if there's 1 line by the T or no line at all, then the test is invalid and you'd need to retest. Couple of options for doing that. If you've got sighted assistance, then obviously ask who's available to read the result for you. Another couple of options, the Be My Eyes app has a COVID feature on it, so you can ring up and talk to some NHS staff, who will be able to read the result for you. Or another option would be to take a photo and send it to a friend, or just give a friend or family member a quick video call and ask them to look at your test. But like I said, we've not found another solution as yet to reading the result other than that. And you just have to wait half an hour for the result, like I say, and then you have to go onto the result website and report it. And if you are using a smartphone, as I mentioned, the QR code is there to make reporting that result a lot easier. So that is part 2, how to take a COVID test if you have low or no vision. So as you can see, it may be a little bit harder, a little bit more fiddly, but good luck with it. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Stop recording video.